hit
Mike,
her?
I think Mike was a little freaky.
How could you hit Robin Givens?
I once I brought my wife to Phoenix to watch a U2 concert and a bunch of friends. And we go into this suite, and somehow, I don't know how this happened. We're just there to see U2, you know. And all of a sudden, Mike Tyson shows up in the suite that I had rented. And Mike Tyson watched the U2 concert with us. I'd never met Mike Tyson before, never spoken to him again. We had a great time. He was a very nice man. I had a great time with him. Mike Tyson just showed up.
Are you okay, David?
I don't know what's going on. We gotta get some real furnishings here, my man.
Yeah, you keep promising some furniture.
My goodness,
Dr.
great.
Belay, I know this is a little too casual for you because you're such a serious man. You don't engage in this.
Are we on now?
Of course we're
This
live.
is happening on air.
Oh, this is
live
on air.
radio, live radio
Lord,
in
this
the
is
United
live, man.
States of America.
This is the most conservative radio show I've been to.
Is it?
I think so.
It's getting a little wild today.
Yeah, you know, David is feeling all loose, feeling
Now
himself.
I gotta stand because my chair broke.
Dr. Belay, give us your thought of the day. Tell our audience a little about yourself. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show. You know, we keep it. There's nothing fake here. We're sincere. There are no pre-scripting. Dr. Belay will tell you that we offer no scripts. No one gets any advanced information on the show, including David, the co-host, even though he writes 1,000 times a day, as if I'm going to give him a different answer. So, you know,
I keep asking, who's going to be on the show tonight, Armstrong? I never get an answer. I just show up. Just show up and do my work.
Now, Dr. Belay is a fascinating person. One of the most fascinating individuals that I've met in a long time. His brain never sleeps. He loves this world. He wants what's best for this world. You know, I tell you one of the things that I want to ask you an interesting question, and you're going to be offended by this question I'm going to ask.
Please don't.
So let me apologize to you before I ask this question. Tell us, in terms of the grand scale of the economy, moving this world forward in terms of engineers and the minds of our times, tell us the contributions that the continent of Africa has made to advance in the world.
Well, that is a very important question. Africa, as you know from our geological past, is the center of our planet.
It's where
Earth.
we all come from.
And really, as the Earth unfolded, the seas came in being. You remember Gondwanaland? And really, the rest of the world spread out from Africa. So the landmass that was the center of the planet Earth was Africa and is still Africa. Africa also houses most of the transformational geological changes in terms of life forms, be it from the single-celled structures all the way to mammals and humans. Still, Africa is in evolution in the sense most of the changes that's taking place, both in the plant and animal species, is taking place in Africa. The human civilization started in Africa. The Garden of Eden, as we know it, we believe, happened in Africa. And therefore, Africa is still transforming. And lots of changes are taking place.
Jesus was from Africa,
because of this
right?
natural phenomenon, Africa has a lot of resources, underground, overground. Underground, most of the precious minerals, gold and diamond and all these other precious metals are, by and large, highly concentrated in Africa. Coming back to the animal and human species, the most diverse set of human and animal species and plant species is in Africa. Looking at the human race itself, Africa has the most diverse human groupings. The shortest pygmies, the tallest Sudanese, the different color and textural hues, and civilizations too. I come from the eastern part of Africa, Ethiopia, where we believe humanity started, where civilization started. And not only that, Ethiopia is also one place where religious beliefs per se, be it the Jewish, the Christian, the Muslim faiths, actually were nurtured and distributed to the rest of the world. And therefore, that part of the world is very, very diverse. As you go south, you'd find the same. West, it's absolutely fascinating country. So, looking at the economy, in 2008, when the globalized, integrated world was impacted by few very clever financial institutions, be it in America or Europe, Africa was not connected. Therefore, most of Africa was not hurt as much as Europe and America is. Today, if you look at the statistics, Africa growth rate is between 10 to 15% in most of the countries. China is another good growth place. Whereas here, we're really stagnating, and some parts in Europe have not grown. So the thinking is, just to get you, the top scientist at the IMF, the vice president, wrote an article saying the world economic crisis can be saved, or its salvation comes from the African economic growth. This has happened in the past. As you know, in 1855, when European economy collapsed, Africa supplied all the goodies for the regeneration of Europe. Today, China is in Africa. In fact, just yesterday, the Chinese gave one of the largest institutions for African Union in Addis. And therefore, Africa is there now to replace what the old Europeans have been doing in Africa.
But doesn't it? But it appears to me, as a non-African, which everyone can see,
you are African by the very virtue that you are a human being.
Really?
We all came from Africa.
I thought Irish people just like came out of the bog.
No,
they kind of emerged from the bog. We were very short and little sprightly guys under the bridge, and that didn't happen there, huh? Oh, okay.
Most probably the Irish. Some
For
of them
Irish,
come from
someplace?
Africa, some from the Scandinavian
But
countries.
the politics, political system, political situation.
Yes.
In at least by what I read.
Yes.
All I know is what I read. Is very difficult, very challenged in Africa. And it appears to me that the reason for that is that my forebears screwed that up. That many European powers came to Africa, colonized, drew arbitrary lines, as you know they like to do, and said, okay, here are your countries. When in fact those countries have nothing to do with the tribal allegiances and the things. So in fact the lines that we created, the colonial governments created, have created political instability on the continent. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, like everything else, yes, this might have played a certain part in the economic social development of Africa. However, going back, we are over 60 years independent from the European colonial power.
Thank you.
However, still 70 to 80% of our trade happens between Europe and Africa. In fact, one of the decisions they made this year, this last Monday, that was 2 days ago, was Africans trading between Africans is less than 10%. Can you imagine that?
Really?
The Ethiopian Airlines is the only airlines that travels between the different parts of Africa. All African trade, business connection happens with their old colonial masters.
Doesn't happen within their own continent.
Not as much. In fact, this is one of the decisions that was made. Just this weekend, where the heads of state met, this is Sunday and Monday, they were trying to elect some of their leaders, especially the Commissioner for African Union. You'd be surprised, they had elections 4 times, and all 4 times the current commissioner from Gabon, Dr. Ping, and another challenger from South Africa, they were neck and neck, and they could not get the 2/3 majority, and they postponed the next leadership for another 6 months, and that tells you where the challenges are.
You know, when we come back out of the break, I just want to understand, why is it that Africa can't break with the old colonialists, the poverty, the way the treatment of the people, the way people live. I mean, it's
the way they treat each other.
The way they treat each other, the slaughter, the
Killing each other.
genocide. We'll be back. Dr. Bilal, David Modell, Armstrong Williams. Don't go away.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Hello, my name is Ron Moulton. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoulton.com.
I wasn't talking about you. You're
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FILA, does what others don't. FILA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfila.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfila.com.
Are you starting to get a little toasty in here?
No, I just don't want
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population.
Yeah.
Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Dr. Belai Jesus is our guest, David Modell. Talk to us about the issues, the poverty, just the treatment of the people. I mean, you had the genocide in Rwanda. I mean, it is total chaos. And one of the reasons why the United States government cannot really intervene at a certain level is because people see our government. Remember what happened with the Marine, the effigy of the Marine? They saw it as a black and white issue. It became very sensitive for President Clinton, the Congressional Black Caucus, the way they reacted to it. And so we don't really intervene because we don't really be accused of injecting our troops where people could see it as something black and white. It's not there. You're trying to protect people from butchers, from brutes.
Unfortunately, the image of Africa has been drawn, described, and authored by non-Africans. Therefore, we see a lot more bad images coming out of Africa. That doesn't mean some of these images are not true, but perhaps the scale and proportions are perhaps a little exaggerated. Yes, there is poverty in Africa. Yes, there are civil wars in Africa. Yes, Africa, like everybody else, is impacted by its own internal and external problems. But Africa is actually making a lot of progress from where it was to where it is now. One of the great things Africa has done is, as I mentioned earlier, is the African Union, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Imagine, almost all parts of Africa were under colony some 50 years ago. The Organization of African Unity that was set up in Addis by the then Emperor Haile Selassie and some far-sighted leaders like Kwame Nkrumah and others really was an institution that was built to liberate the rest of Africa. The United States have always played a positive part, but sometimes, depending on who is closer to the White House, sometimes the U.S. has been also playing a negative part, especially in Congo and South Africa, especially during the time of the South African apartheid era. But in general, the United States has a very good image in Africa. Congo, not very good, because the United States was part of a system that undermined an elected government, and the civil war that started Second World War time, still raging. In fact, many people say there is a world war, the Fourth World War going on in the Congo. That's one of the most the richest parts of African continent.
So what we read about in the Congo has been going on since World War II?
More or less. I mean, there have been times when there was a little spell where you had these very powerful leaders, right? But since that last leader was gone, really, Congo has not been in peace.
Why is that? Why can they not kind of find that spot, the equilibrium spot?
Well, you would be surprised. The United States, especially the Christian network, I should not mention names, were involved.
In what?
In
Helping
Congo.
or
In
hurting?
Congo.
Pat Robertson's Christian Broadcasting Network.
Yes, I didn't want to
And
mention,
well,
but
he
what I
admitted
want
it.
to
He didn't try
mention
to
is,
hide it.
there are lots of interest groups here in the United States that are supporting the different factions because there is a lot of mineral. You're talking about really a rich, the Katanga and all those areas.
In the Congo.
Yes.
And when you say minerals, you mean minerals that we can dig out of the ground, exploit, and sell.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
However, having
Diamonds,
said
whatever,
that,
yeah.
that doesn't
Nickel.
leave the Africans out of responsibility.
Blameless.
No, because like everybody else, they could design their destiny, they could determine their own future, and yet they have chosen, because of circumstances, to play fool to the Arab, to the European, and now to the Chinese and American interest. As you know, the United States, regardless of however it portrays itself to be a very generous and friendly democratic country, it really serves its own interest. All the activities of the United States outside the boundaries of the United States is to maintain the interests of the United States, be it in Africa, Europe, or the Far East. Therefore, at times, when the so-called leadership perceives the interests of the United States are not in line with some of the interests of the leadership in Africa, there are conflicts. The U.S. hasn't gone physically, except maybe during the Somalia crisis. Usually the U.S. uses proxies. Now, let me tell you, Africans don't make guns. Okay? And yet, Africa is awash with guns, be it from Soviet Union or the United States or Europe. So, whoever is supplying arms to these people is the one that's really promoting all this mayhem. At the moment, there are crises in different parts of the world, but the African Union is trying to create a system by which democracy, accountability, peer review, NEPAD, and other institutions are put in place. But if you look at the leadership of Africa, most of them 15 plus years. Some of them now, I think, in one of the West African countries, they're wanting to change the constitution to be re-elected again. So there is this perpetual problem in Africa, which I believe stems from non-enterprise entities. If you are a president today and tomorrow you are out of office, you become a pauper, literally, because there is no enterprise, there is no business, there is no institution to sustain you at the level of competency and comfort that you had, unless you are also doing
So is that
some
why,
side
why they
business.
steal?
That's partly the reason, because
They steal a lot.
well,
It's not like they're stealing. You know,
well,
little, they steal
to be
billions.
fair,
Billions.
again, I want to bring really sanity to this discussion.
Okay.
Because everybody thinks Africans steal. How much do they steal?
No, I don't. I
1
didn't say
million?
I didn't say Africans steal.
2 million?
I said that these leaders, 2 million, they got
I mean-
billions of dollars they're stealing.
Okay, the
Bi-
American economic crisis, the financial system.
Yeah.
How many trillions did they steal?
They didn't steal trillions. Steal trillions from whom? You think Barack Obama stole trillions and put it in his bank
No,
account?
not Barack Obama. I'm talking about the institutions.
We know Congress steals, but that's another story.
No,
we talk about that another time.
No, the financial system in New York and here, the Fannie Mae.
Oh, they'll
and
tell
all
you
the-
they didn't steal.
Oh, but we know they sunk some 15 or more trillion dollars down the tube. The same thing is true in Europe. So here, the scale is like between a tadpole and a whale. If an African dictator steals, it would be like what a tadpole, assumes in the sea, in the ocean, or in the pond. Here, the United States and Europe are sinking the global economy in trillions. Do you know how many zeros there are after one in trillions?
Yes.
It's quite a lot.
I do, as a matter
How
of
many?
fact. Lots. I agree with you. A lot.
So Africans,
eye to
yes,
eye.
they steal, but it's compared to what happens
I
here.
think you're minimizing. I think you're
No,
being
no,
a
no.
sport to Africa.
No.
Because a lot of these
Let's-
leaders split with a lot of
No,
cash.
let's
They're
be
on par. They're on par with
All right.
our billionaire
And
thieves
I'll
from Wall
come
Street.
right here.
They're all together. In
K
fact, they
Street,
probably
K
vacation
Street,
together.
no far away from here, from Your Excellency's
It's only
office.
millions here in K
How
Street.
many
It's only
trillions?
millions here.
No, trillions.
Millions in K Street.
The economists are
It's still a
telling
lot.
us trillions
So you got to go
are
across
going
the
down.
street to the big white building. That's trillions.
So what I'm trying to
K
say,
Street's
corruption
I
is
think there's something-
everywhere.
I think there's something you're missing here. In many of these countries, they don't even have the rule of law. We have the rule of law here. There's a system in place that can minimize the damage, and there's a punishment for that stealing, and people can
Is
go
that
to jail.
true, Your Excellency? Can I ask you, for the 2008 global economic crisis, how many people did you put to jail, or even did you start
No.
a court
let's
case?
Let's talk about the rule
So
of law
please.
in many of these
So
countries.
let's talk
Where's the
proportionately.
rule of law? They don't even have the rule of law.
Well, no,
They're bloody dictators.
I think the doctor's making a good point. Who's gone to jail? No one. And they should have.
To be fair.
So if we have the rule of law, how come people have not, in the United States have not been...
It is one thing to talk about the United States. The United States government, you can say whatever you want to say about our government, and I admit that it's corrupt.
I did not say the government. I said the system.
All the same. It doesn't matter.
No, there's a difference.
But the United States would never allow the level of poverty in this country that you see in Africa. You would never see that.
Well, in fact, Lyndon Johnson,
yes,
that's a fact.
Okay.
You can't argue that.
To be fair, everything is relative.
Not
with the wealth that we see here in the United States of America, how many millions are unemployed on food stamp in this country?
But they're taken care of by the government. We do not have nothing like the level of poverty. I just recently witnessed in Lagos, Nigeria.
They're taken care of by taxpayers.
It doesn't matter. We are the government. We are the government.
There's a huge distinction. Listen. Americans take care of Americans. That's a huge. The government should only be the intermediary.
The poverty in Africa that I have witnessed, you can't even mention the United States in the same breath, because we take care, we the people, of our poor. Those people have little or no value in these countries.
I'm guessing our really poor people in this country would look in some of the really impoverished areas.
Even within Africa, to be fair, there are countries like Somalia where there's no government for the last almost 25 years.
Right.
And therefore, what you see there is not in the rest of Africa. Even within countries, the level of poverty varies. Yes, there is poverty, but poverty is in Asia as well. And all this poverty that we see...
In Asia, we're talking about 1 billion people.
More than that.
Yes, you don't have close to that in Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, you can understand the Chinese's mentality. I don't think there's no compare. I just think that these bloody dictators should do better, and the people should demand more. This is why you have the protests and the shutdown of Lagos, Nigeria, and Abuja recently, because the people could not believe they would try to pass on this oil tax to them.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, how much shame do you have? How much can you burden the people without offending them and causing them to rise up?
To be fair, like everything else, I don't want to be supporting the Nigerian government, but like everything else, Nigeria is one of the richest African countries.
For the few.
Well, the fact that they're giving these special sort of fares for the oil. In fact, they support the oil for majority of the people. I mean, to be very frank, Africa has made lots of progress from where it was to where it is. It's taken the United States almost 200 years plus to be where it is now. Africa has just been free for the last 60 years.
But they have examples to get them there much quicker. When we started, it was a different ball game.
They're also free before the 60 years. I mean, whoa. No, I mean,
no.
They have to be responsible for themselves.
Fair,
and I'll agree with them. They have to be responsible for themselves.
The only free country, the rest of Africa, till 1960s.
Where was Africa the continent take its rightful place in the world and become the new United States, become the new old Europe? When? It is long overdue.
And what catalyzes them to do that?
Yes.
And that's precisely what we're talking about. It seems
it is time for them to take their rightful place in the world and lead by example, through military might, through economic might, because they have everything in place, except they have little or no respect for their greatest research, which is their masses of people.
There are problems. I will not disagree with you, but from where we were to where we are, we have made progress. Is the progress fast enough? No. Should we have learned from experiences of China, Europe, and the United States? Yes. However, to educate your masses to reach a level of consensus, or rather,
hold that point. We're coming back. Armstrong Williams, Dr. Jesus Belay, David Modell, AM WTNT 730. We'll be back. Washington, D.C., baby.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams,
That's perfectly fair.
and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Right now, they should have been figuring out whether this commissioner...
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, The NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit NRA.org.
Hello, my name is Ron Moulton. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council of the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoulton.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
So most of the aid goes
Travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Not Clinton, not Obama.
Bush and Mandela praised them.
Everybody.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Another thing you can squeeze in.
We were talking during the break about how celebrated George Bush, our second Bush, is in Africa. Not Clinton, not Obama, but George Bush. And David was shocked. Tell him why.
Well, you'd be surprised. The United States and Africa have had good relationship for the last 60 years. By and large, the U.S. has played a positive role. However, if you really look at issues that really makes a country transform, technology, knowledge, roads, construction, engineering, the United States is not there. Actually, the Chinese are building the bridges, the engineering, the buildings, and the ICT, information technology, communication. The United States is not doing that. And the only great thing the United States has done, and for which really the whole of African continent is grateful, is President Bush is the only president that gave for Africa something to the tune of $30 billion, especially in the area of HIV, AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and what they call the PEPFAR project. Some people say this is Condi Rice's influence, or maybe General Powell.
Bono.
I'm not sure.
It was Bono.
It could be Bono.
It was Bono.
But
That's
President Bush.
Not Bono was a massive advocate of it.
They all should share.
Bono.
All should share. Come on,
Relax,
please.
relax,
Come on,
big
man.
boy. Relax. You got a little sense of humor
But
today. You get a little tired.
President Bush was
accepted.
accepted at the African Union meeting just about a month ago,
He was there.
like a hero.
Yeah, he was there.
What is perhaps not accepted or popular here in the United States, he is very popular. Who will think President Bush is a progressive and multicultural, diverse person? But Bush, if you saw him when he went there, he took his whole family. This was just right after the Thanksgiving holiday. His daughters were there, his wife was there, and they went and sat with the common man, and he was very humble, and he was honored very, very highly by African
Why did that not
presidents.
occur previously? I'm not
but it
understanding.
did.
I'm understanding
It
why
did.
was
It
he?
did.
Why did he have such? Why was he so so much more intact in terms of being able to? help
Because the
solve
policies are
I
taking
am
full effect.
suspecting it's really Condi's work.
Yeah.
I'm really thinking Condi very intuitively supported President Bush, as you know, during his campaign, before his campaign, and throughout his presidency. And I've read it somewhere, I think in one of these New York papers, where perhaps she has said, if you want to do anything worthwhile, do it with the health program, especially malaria, TB. That is what people assume. Regardless, Bush Jr.,
How about that?
as many people say, he's really has got a very kind heart. He's a very generous, jovious person, and he proved that in Africa, and Africans love him.
Why can't we do a better job in Africa in getting it right with the leaders they elect?
Okay, that's a very, very important question. Africans, by and large, have a very, very positive perspective and liking to Americans. For some reason, the American foreign and military establishment doesn't see Africa as a partner in terms of economy, technology, and all these global business enterprises. Yes, President Clinton started AGOA. I'll give him credit. The African Growth Opportunity Act with the Black Caucus and other, the summit, the Africa Summit. There has been a lot of work done, but eventually AGOA, I just did a study in my other work, really was mainly for oil and gas. Nigeria, Angola, 97% of the AGOA exchange, the tax-free exchange,
Oil and gas.
was for gas and oil. So it didn't really benefit the African people. And instead of, the purpose was, AGOA was to promote free market, business enterprises, and keep the relationship between Africa and the United States on trade purposes. But the African infrastructure is not there. I mean, the business, the technology is not there.
But it sounds like others are stepping in, like the Chinese, to help create that infrastructure. Why are we not doing that?
That's exactly the question.
Are the Chinese getting paid by the Africans
Armstrong
to do
should be
that?
asking. We should be investing in technology.
Well, the Chinese
infrastructure.
need Africa's resources because they just don't have them. In order to survive in terms of agriculture, it is necessary that the Chinese find new markets. And Africa, who's desperate and destitute, is hungry for someone like the Chinese. But as exploitive as the Chinese may be, and they are, the Africans are far more sophisticated and intelligent than people give them credit for.
What's the population on the continent?
Well, some people say around 8 to 900,000
On the continent?
on the continent, and
8 to
on average
900
million.
million.
900
Right, you said 900,000. I was like,
No,
well,
900
why?
million. Perhaps the whole people of African descent, including yourselves, we might turn out around 1 billion.
No, wait. So on the continent of Africa, the entire continent,
It's about
900
million. Yes.
that's all?
Yes. And then
There are
you
more
have,
people in China, man.
Oh, easily, by far. There are
Okay.
more people in a
where
quarter
do
of
you
China.
think Africans live outside the United States? Outside Africa, the largest number
In the
of
United
Africans.
States.
No, that's a good try.
China.
Oh, in
Number
India?
two.
In India?
No.
China.
India? No. Brazil. Mother Brazil. 80 million in Brazil, about how many? 40 something here. So you have 120, at least about 100 million in the Caribbeans, Colombia. France leads Europe, followed by Britain. However, there are lots of people of African descent all over the world.
I want to move to sort of change the dialogue somewhat. How is it that you move a culture who identifies themselves with Africa, and literally it has more to do with your skin color than a value system, and it has to do less to do with overcoming and building economic might in different markets? What do you see is what is it that really continues the plight, particularly Americans who happen to be minorities in this country? Why is it they don't see themselves as part of America? And some of them don't. They see themselves as African Americans. They see themselves as hyphenated Americans. And if you go to Africa, and I spent time in South Africa, they would tell them in a heartbeat, you have nothing in common with Africa. You don't even share our values. You can wear the garb and you can dress and take on an African name, but you don't understand what it means. It's almost offensive. So do you think that many American blacks who, to me, live in the greatest country on the planet, are still in search of their identity? Just how is this perceived around the rest of the world?
Well, I've lived in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, and now here in the United States. Every culture either looks at itself by the color of skin or by their different physical features. But the most important differentiating factor is culture. Mm-hmm. Really, at the end of the day, what differentiates each one of us more than anything else is culture. Here in the United States, an African American really and European American or Asian American in the mainstream, there's no difference. You think alike.
No, it's not. You're right. What is saying? We're so Americanized.
Yes.
No matter how much you try to separate and say I'm not a part of that, we are so immersed in it.
However, even though there is this big centralized mainstream American culture, behind the door, when you go to your cars and your home, everybody is in their little ethnic ghettos. So America is a very interesting phenomenon. For me, who's come from outside to study America, in the office we're all the same, but when it goes to our churches, to our homes, we go into our little ghettos. That is changing now. More than any other time. Therefore, the culture
changing so that people are becoming less differentiated in the after hours moments.
Now, the advent of President Barack Obama in the American consciousness has transformed a lot of these traditional outlooks. Some of them were underground, covered up. They came out. Now this election, the current Republican campaign, is also bringing out a lot of what the older folks, 50 and above, are thinking. However, the younger generation, 30 and below, you'll be surprised. They're much more mainstream American. So even America of our lifetime here, there is a huge discrepancy or variety. Coming back to the real question you asked, Africans look at America in Europe and others like everybody else does. You first look at yourself as a community and as a culture. The African American culture is different from most of African culture. However, don't misunderstand Africa. Africa is a huge continent. The northern part of Africa is mainly Arab and Muslim. The middle part of Africa is different, the west and the east. And then as you go down south, where you have European presence, that is also a different culture. So when somebody says they're African, you have always to think, are you talking about these 800 languages or ethnic groups? Everybody is different. Even Nigeria, Ethiopia has 120 ethnic groups. So there is no uniformity of what is an African, except the fact you come from the continent of Africa.
The terminology African American became a replacement for black, correct? Right,
we call it further balkanizing.
Well,
I'm an American. Okay?
Well, yeah, no, we talk about that, and that's exactly right. And I think that's exactly right because, as I've said a zillion times, I don't view you as Black Armstrong. You're Armstrong.
I'm an American.
I mean, I don't even think about it. It's irrelevant to me.
I am an outsider, so when I look at you guys, I laugh because I study your culture and history, and I come from Britain. At least my last stop was in Britain, and I'm a British citizen. When the Queen came during President Bush's presidency in 2007 to honor the 400th British colonization of this country
in Virginia.
Yes. Yeah. And then I spent a lot of my time to understand the local indigenous American population, what you call Indians. I think they have different names for themselves.
I mean American Indians.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So when you guys say I'm an American, Amerigo Vespucci, that Italian guy, might be very happy. But really, what you say I'm an American is, what does it mean to the local population? What does it mean to the Hispanic population? What does it mean to the European population? What does it mean to Asian and people of African descent? Really, this concept of I'm an American, I think by that, if you might as well, you are a member of the United Nations.
Yes. Hey, somebody says David is funny. They're listening to it. It's me. I see it's me. Armstrong Williams on AM 730 WTNT, the nation's capital. We'll be back.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
It's so small compared to
Does your school, team, church, or charity
In fact, we
need a
should
new
talk about
fundraiser?
media in Africa.
Do you need to work out of your home
African American?
or part-time?
Yes.
Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Image.
Well, and that's
Anderson Brothers Bank,
go for
a
it.
family-owned and operated
So
establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show, David.
Well, so I'm just it's becoming really apparent to me that perhaps I've only seen such a small bit of the prism of light coming out of Africa through our media. So all I really know, I've never been to Africa. All I really know is what I read, what I see. I consume a lot of media, but I'm not going to consume as much as my eyes, ears, and heart would see if I were there. So the perspective that I have of the continent and what's going on the continent is shaped very heavily by that. So when we are having this conversation about the continent of Africa, I'm thinking crazy dictators, Idi Amin, Mugabe, all these nuts stealing money, doing all this. These civil wars that are raging constantly, little kids who are, made to be warrior slaves, killing each other, movies made about it. But that's what I know about Africa.
Yes.
And that's probably an unfair skewing of the reality.
That's very true. I mean, it's the same thing. If I was going to broadcast from here, the United States, to the rest of the world, only the bad things I see about America. In fact, even if I just show the Republican Party debate itself, it's a whole show. It shows different type of America than we see day by day. The African challenge is really communication. We don't have modern communication media. Let's just see what the Al Jazeera did. Al Jazeera, over the last 10 years or less than 10 years, has transformed the image of Arabs and perhaps even led a revolution. In the African setting, what you get is an European perspective, that too a businessman, an European businessman who's got there for a week, and he just sees what he wants to see. So African Americans ourselves, as well as the Africans diaspora around the world, there is about 1 billion of us, we have not come to produce a show, a radio program, a television program that shows Africa in its totality, from cradle to grave, from business to technology.
Well, it's like we see, right, so it's like we see, National Geographic, animals, the Serengeti, the thing, the lions, the thing, and then we see Mugabe, craziness, right, warriors.
So
we don't see the everyday
part of the problem is
lives.
We ourselves haven't done that. I feel the same way about African Americans. In this country, there are many successful African Americans, engineers, doctors, soldiers, business people, what have you. But the ones you see in the media, except now, even since Obama came, I see more people in the media, commentators and what have you. Your Excellency, I saw you the other day as one of the big three on MSNBC. You hardly see African Americans before Obama became president. That doesn't mean African Americans are not intelligent people. In fact, most of the creative scientific work were done by African Americans. The Red Tails. I knew a lot about these African American fighters because one of them came to Ethiopia, helped Emperor Haile Selassie defeat the Italians during the Second World War. one of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Really?
So we have a family of African American. Actually, he married, his son married an Ethiopian, and there's a big family there. We Ethiopians know about Tuskegee than many Americans. And now, after so many years, this new movie has come out. So the culture here in the United States does not nurture, does not promote the positive African image. So it feeds in. They want to, whoever they are. Nowadays, really, we shouldn't say they and us, because we are the media. Look, we are running our own media.
Yes.
We come from different cultures and colors.
Yes.
So the consciousness to portray images as they are. You remember the story I talked about?
We don't get enough.
Event, fact, information, wisdom, and consciousness or genius is really based on facts. If you continuously feed your own son or daughter negative things, you will create a different animal. So I believe the American audience does not have enough information, leave alone about Africa, about the rest of the world.
And frankly, and this is such a great example. My wife, Michelle, several years ago, went on a 30-day painting class in Italy. And she was there mostly with other women from Maryland Institute College of Art. And she was a little bit older than the other kids. You know, when I say kids, 22-year-olds, right, you know. And so the women found in Italy that they were getting accosted all the time by men. Accosted all the time. And they just, the younger girls were kind of thinking, oh, this is just these Italian men. They're so aggressive. Well, now, Armstrong knows my wife, Michelle. She's not taking this, you know. So someone came and gave her the business and actually decided to show her his business. And Michelle isn't taking that. The head started going back and forth. She chased the guy down the street going, what's the matter with you? And the guy started to freak out, and he goes, oh, my God, I didn't know. All we see of you all we see of American women are Girls Gone Wild on TV. We thought all of you were that way.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that amazing? So that was his perspective of American women, was from Girls Gone Wild. Go figure.
Really, what the message is, we in the media, like what we're doing, we have to do more of this. Not only about Africa or the rest of our communities, but the rest of the world. I watch every night BBC, MSNBC, Fox and all, and then I go to France 24, and then I go to the African channel, Chinese, Korean channels. You cannot believe it. Their English program is excellent. The Chinese, the Koreans, and the Japanese. So to get information, I try at least spend 5 minutes in each channel, because nowadays, thank God for the internet and all these other we can do that. But mainstream America still, I mean, really, it's all about the special group of Americans that we see every day. We don't see even the talents of Americans.
Well,
here in the United
unfortunately,
States.
oftentimes when we look at Americans, when we look at a continent like Africa, we're just looking with dollar signs in our mind. Where's the oil? Where are the diamonds? And we don't care about anything else, which is frankly the way Americans get treated by their government.
However, Africans also have to do our job.
Sorry.
We have to project the true picture of Africa, with all its challenges and opportunities. The media, like your show, sir, is in a unique position to transform the image of America and the rest of the world, so that we become equal partners and competitive in the next world. The old world where we dictated terms is not going to happen. I know the Republicans don't like this. They think Obama is creating this. That's not true. Now it's business. It's about win-win relationships. And America, because of its movie industry and by and large the digital media communication, is way ahead of the rest of the world. You remember the other day when Pipa and SOPA came and they closed down, was it WikiLeaks?
Yeah.
America closed down some things, the whole internet system closed down. So America still dominates the world. However, in the future, America becomes a very prominent country, not by its military might, but mainly by its influence.
Well, it's by
its
the truth.
Business, by its economy.
I see, and I think it's the truth. To me, it's the truth. And the truth isn't economic. And I get back to, I said Bono, and Armstrong gave me the squirrely eye, but Bono was very heavily involved in obtaining those credits. He was very heavily involved.
Yes.
And he said something very important, I think, at one of these events. He said, America is not simply a country. America is an idea. That idea isn't about money. That idea is about freedom. Again, my ability to pick up my life in Baltimore, Maryland, today, get in my car and drive to California and start a brand new life brand new job, brand new everything. No one's stopping me along the way. I could stop in every city along the way and hold a sign up, President Obama's a bad president. No one's going to shoot me. No one's going to put me in jail. I'm going to get to my destination. That is America, my friend. And that is what we should be promulgating to others, because it's that freedom that allows other things to happen.
Fortunately or unfortunately, that idea itself is being challenged here in the United States.
Yes, it is.
The 99% movement, the current campaign, especially the lack of jobs in some of these communities. We're not talking about poor, uneducated people who don't have jobs. I'm talking about presidents and CEOs of the digital bubble of the Clinton years, or the real estate bubbles of President Bush years. Where are they now? Most of them are in shelters on food stamps. Now this image needs to change. Why? The money is there. The technology is there. Still, the banks are holding $2 trillion or more in their hands. The investors are holding $2 or $3 trillion, and they're not investing in their people. And really, you remember there was that mantra during Clinton years, the most favored nation that Congress signs every year?
Yeah.
That nation was not the United States.
You see,
that nation was China. And what happened? China today owns the United States.
And what we need to have happen.
China thinks she owns us.
Yeah. No, China does not own us.
It does not.
They owns our debt.
Owns our debt.
What does that mean?
That means they own us.
No, it doesn't. They don't own me, Jack.
Well, the United States has $65 trillion in assets. Only $15 trillion in debt. That means we have at least $40 trillion to play with. And this trillion is the largest 40 trillion in the world.
There's enough in this country.
Nobody owns me,
but there's enough
psychologically
to take care of everyone. There's
psychologically
enough in this country.
We are impacted.
We produce 4,000 calories. 4,000 calories every single day for every man, woman, and child in this country. Did you know that? That we produce that. Can you imagine that? And we don't have an ability to help others or help ourselves or have the right mentality about it? I agree with you. I think the current political thing is creating significant problems in this. And I'm not entirely sure that there aren't some of those business people holding back those investment dollars, purposefully trying to make this economy go down so that President Obama loses. And I think they just need to suck it up, realize he's going to get reelected because Republicans don't have a candidate, and they might as well loosen up the money and allow people to get back to work. Let's stop this foolishness and help Americans now.
I support your idea.
Thank you, sir.
That America is an idea of opportunity. That idea is what we need to take.
What a great discussion. Dr. Jesus Belay, David Modell. Tremendous discussion. We look forward to having this again. Every Thursday, you're with us. Yes, thank you. Good night, everybody, on the Armstrong Williams Show.
Peace.
www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Right, Armstrong?
Huh? Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit NRA.org.
Hello, my name is Ron Moulton. I'm running as a Republican for the City Council in the nation's capital, a political arena dominated by the Democratic Party. I'm seeking office in Ward 7, overwhelmed by unemployment and poverty. For the first time in decades, we have an opportunity to be elected as the people that need the representation the most are now responding to the principles that will uplift them. For more information about my values and to donate, please visit www.ronmoulton.com.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Correct, I agree. I've stopped watching it because it's so stupid.
So, David, when are you going to get us the stools right? We need them bad.
Yeah, you do. Well, now you need them real bad because I broke your chair. Where'd that chair come from?
Oh, listen,
I did not break your chair.
6 hours of shows today.
Well, you're a media guy, Armstrong. I mean, what do you expect, a media guy? How many hours do you think Britt Hume did today?
I'm not Britt Hume. He doesn't have what I have.
He's stiff too. Britt Hume on TV. Charles Krockheimer and Britt Hume are like watching a glacier.
Charles is what? He's face.
But he's. I understand from people that he's not that way. That he's a nice guy, very funny.
Why is his face like that?
Because that's his countenance on TV. You know, he's in a wheelchair. He's been a paraplegic since he was a kid. An accident when he was a kid.
I sense now. You know why?
Watch him as he breathes.
Yeah.
He's a gasper when he breathes because he's got to get. He doesn't have a. He's got to work his
really?
diaphragms and is sitting. Yeah.
So his facial also expressions are wrong.
No. He's a paraplegic, not quad.
What happened?
Paraplegic. What happened to him, Armstrong?